Meeting called to order. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Clayton.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
Please stand for a silent prayer, moment of reflection. We will now salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As to comply with the open...
Hold on one second. I apologize. When we did the moment of reflection, I should have said something about our former Judge Benedetto, passed away on Easter Sunday. And so our condolences go out to him, his family, and everything. And we haven't had a meeting since then. The flag was at half-mast. So during that moment of reflection, I'm hoping everybody said a little prayer for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. As to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. The annual notice was forwarded to the Asbury Park Press, the Coaster, and the Star Ledger on January 3rd, 2023, and posted on the bulletin board the same date. All notices are on file with the city clerk. We are now on to proclamations. We have a proclamation recognizing April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day. And we're now on to special event applications.
First application before you is from the Surf Riders Foundation to do a beach cleanup on May 11th. Next is the Blue Dot Inclusive Earth Day, which is another beach cleanup on May 18th. Bonfires on the beach for 2023. The Kazik brothers are requesting to use the council chambers on May 12th. Juneteenth celebration on May 17th in Springwood Park. The AIDS Walk on May 7th. And Cane at the Beach on June 29th. And Open Heaven Music Fest in Bradley Park on August 26th.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alicia. We are now on to a presentation by Michelle Alonso, Director of Planning and Redevelopment, of proposed ordinances permitting and governing accessory dwelling units.
Good evening, everyone.
Do you need a mic, Michelle?
Lisa went to get one. But in the meantime, I will borrow Fred's. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is a presentation of the proposed draft ordinance that the council is considering for accessory dwelling units. All right. Okay, what is an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit? Some people know what these are. If you're a planning geek in the world of planning, or you subscribe to AARP, you may know what they are because they have made some national headlines. Accessory dwelling unit is a smaller, independent residential dwelling unit located on the same lot as a standalone detached single-family home. They go by many different names, and you may know them as an accessory apartment, a secondary suite, or a granny flat. ADUs can be converted portions of existing homes, additions to newer existing homes, or new standalone accessory structures, or convert portions of existing standalone accessory structures, detached ADUs. And we're primarily going to be talking about tonight detached ADUs because that's what the proposed ordinance has in mind. They're sometimes referred to as a soft increase in density because the point of them is not to change the character of a residential neighborhood. Structure is not supposed to be highly visible, And it's a way to add density in a manner that is not supposed to be noticeable. And the photo I have here is what an ADU can look like. This is one that has a garage in it and has living space above it. So internal, attached, and detached ADUs all have the potential to increase housing affordability, both for homeowners and tenants, create a wider range of housing options within a community, and enable seniors to stay near family as they age, and facilitate better use of the existing housing fabric in established neighborhoods. As I said, the AARP has been an advocate of ADUs with the idea of aging in place, that if you're a senior, that you can, if desired, move into the smaller house and have family live in the larger house, or you can rent the larger house, or even that you could remain in the larger house and you could have family move in the smaller house. This is what we see very often with ADUs, and that's why they're sometimes called granny flats. Our goal here in Asbury Park is to provide more varied housing types without changing the character of the neighborhood. We recognize that there may not be a lot of smaller units in the city and at desirable price points, and that's one of the reasons that the municipal council asked for a draft of an ADU ordinance and would like to consider it. As I stated before, they can be attached to a main house or detached, such as in a garage or on the lot, or a new little house added to the property. The proposed Asbury Park ADU ordinance would permit ADUs in detached structures, either conversion of existing garages, additions to garages, or new cottages. So this is a slide with photos of examples of ADUs. The one in the far corner is an example of one in New Jersey, where it is the unit above the garage and to the side. The one to the right top is a standalone cottage, as is the one on the left bottom, which also, though, could have been a conversion of a garage. And the one in the right bottom corner is an example of the garage stays and the unit is put above the garage. So this is in line with the master plan. The Asbury Park master plan seeks balanced housing options in the city, including affordable housing for low and moderate income households. We encourage the continued development of a variety of housing ranging from affordable to middle income and market rate units, fully integrating affordable housing throughout the city, both within projects and geographically through Asbury Park. So the ADU ordinance would meet that goal, because the idea is now to put more affordable units in what is considered our R1 district, our single-family districts. And of course, with ADUs, we have regulations. And what's proposed is that the units would be permitted in detached garages above garages and standalone structures in backyards. At this time, we're not proposing ADUs in a main structure. It would only be one unit permitted, one ADU per property. Can be built in the location of a detached garage that already exists, or where a detached garage would be at the rear of the property. They cannot be more than 20 feet high, 2 stories. And that goes in line with the principle in that we want them to blend in. We do not want them to stand out. They cannot exceed the coverage requirement for the property, both building coverage and paved area coverage. And they must be of the same residential standard as a house, that if someone is going to convert their garage or build an ADU, it has to meet the same code for habitability as a main structure. Big regulation is that it must be owner occupied. Parking must be maintained on site, and 1 parking space per ADU is required. The ADU or the principal house cannot be a short-term rental, and that's again, to make sure we're in line with what we're trying to achieve with the creation of ADUs. It cannot be subdivided from the principal structure, from the main house. It will have its own approval process, both in the Planning and Zoning Office and in the Office of Code Enforcement, because we will require an annual license to ensure that it's owner occupied and that it's inspected and everything is as it should be. We will have an incentive program if someone desires to create an ADU that is affordable housing and is deed restricted. We will have a financial incentive program that it would be $20,000 for a moderate income unit, 30 for a low income unit, or 35 per very low income unit, and this goes towards the cost of construction. But in order to do this and qualify, it has to be income restricted, it has to follow all the rules for affordable housing. You can't just rent to anyone, it has to be someone on the affordable housing list. It has to be deed restricted for 10 years. There would be annual reporting by the property owner and monitoring. But also as incentive, we would eliminate the parking requirement for if someone does a deed-restricted affordable unit. You would get a small bump in building coverage of 5%, and it would not have to be owner-occupied. So these regs are to encourage housing for incomes that are below market. So provided that the ADU ordinance is acceptable, the next step would be a council resolution to refer to the planning board. This will be a change to our zoning ordinance, so the planning board will review it, make recommendations, and ensure that the new ordinance complies with the goals and objectives of the master plan. Then the final step would be a municipal ordinance to be considered by council, and because it's an ordinance, it would be 2 readings. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, and Michelle will stay when we get to the public comment portion in case anybody has specific questions about this. Same as we did for 1012 Asbury, same as we did for 1201 Memorial. We'll do that at the public session. So any questions, Michelle will still be here to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. We're now on to matters from City Council. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I have an announcement from the Recreation Department. We are now hiring summer camp junior counselors. We're hiring beginning July 3rd through August 11th. The hours are 11:30 to 5 p.m. Mondays to Thursdays and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Fridays. The applicants must be at least 15 years old to work and have working papers. The camps will take place at Thurgood Marshall, Bradley, and Upper Elementary Schools. The rate of pay is $15 an hour, and the application deadline is June 16th. So for more information and to apply, please visit the City of Asbury Park's website. It's cityofasburypark.com/recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chapman.
Hi, everyone. So Councilwoman Abez Anderson and I will be hosting a coffee with the council person at the Art of the Leaf and Bean on the 2nd of May at 10 o'clock. So come on out. Let us know what your concerns are. Bring us some ideas. We'd love to hear from all of you. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Councilmember Clayton.
Good evening. Just want to let you know that this Saturday, the Mayor's Wellness Committee is having a stigma-free program in Springwood Park. And if it rains, it's going to happen at Sisters Academy. And it's on sexual assault awareness, and it's from 12 to 3, and all are invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Quinn.
I'm just going to thank the Asbury Park Chamber for an amazingly successful restaurant tour. Great job as always. So thank you, Sylvia. Thank you to the Chamber, one of our great partners in Asbury.
Mayor Moore.
Yes, I'll just follow up on what Yvonne said. I was going to make the same announcement. But it's already been decided, it's been switched to Sisters Academy because the forecast is going to be raining on Saturday. So it's, again, 12 to 3. It's at Sisters Academy. It'll be a great program. It's part of the year of trying to make Asbury Park stigma-free in so many different ways. And this one is being sponsored by the city and Mercy Center. So please, anybody that can join us, please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Matters from the city manager?
I have nothing, Lisa.
Thanks. Matters from the city attorney?
And I have nothing at this time either.
Thanks, Fred. We're now into public participation. May I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public?
Move to open?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public participation portion is now open. Any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and there will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Again, your name and address. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Matthew Sigmund, 700 Emery Street. So, two topics. So with this, Michelle, so when it comes to owner-occupied, if you're an owner of a house, you could only do the ADU. If you're owning an LLC, you can't do an ADU?
Michelle, you should probably come over here and make yourself comfortable and get to the microphone. I think there's going to be more than...
Let them do all their questions, take their 3 minutes and then she'll answer, or just go back and...
Oh, no, yeah, Matt, finish all your questions.
Oh, okay,
And
yes,
then
that was
3 minutes
that.
time, and then she'll answer everything,
Cool.
then we'll go to the
Yeah.
next person. But
First,
Michelle-
that's question one. I think the ADU is a great idea. I hope my interpretation of it is wrong. I hope if you're an investor, you could also do an ADU, because this will help increase the supply of rentals in the area and then bring down the costs. So that's, and we can always talk about this outside of council. I think it's a great idea. I think it's great for the city. Second thing is rent control. I haven't been that outspoken about it in a while. I remember toward the election, everyone was like, let's kind of kick it off until after the election. And now we're in pretty much May, and nothing's been done. No changes have been done. I hear whispers of things from people who work for the city. I've heard whispers from individual council people. You know, is it perfect? No, by any means. However, you know, we're at this 3.5% increase, and everyone here, if you rent or own, everything's gone up more than 3.5%. We live in a coastal area, insurance is soared up. If you provide heat for a building, you know, I own a building where I supply the heat for units. Gas prices have soared up. Everything has soared up, and you know, I mean, no one cares for the landlord. I get it. It is what it is. But it's just a very tough inequality when we're not catching up to these expenses, and my expenses are growing quicker than my rents are growing. It's difficult. And I mean, I don't think we're asking for much. We would just like to be able to grow to CPI, just like any other industry. Other expenses, you know, gas prices don't ask my opinion or ask government whether they could go up or not. Insurance, water, sewer, real estate taxes, the school budget. We've just seen how high it's gone up. So I just think as a landlord, we're just asking for some consideration just to go up higher than 3.5%, higher, you know, the CPI. You know, I'd like to hear what council's doing. I know there was a closed session that Mr. Goodman made some changes, and then nothing happened from that. So it's just frustrating, you know? We're not lowering what we provide to tenants. We clean the buildings, we cut the grass. Of course, there's code violations, you know, buildings have issues, but we're doing everything we need to do as landlords. And frankly, we're just, you know, we're getting cut out because we can't increase more than our expenses are. So ADUs are great. Michelle, great idea. I hope we could, you know, mold it and come up with a good plan for everyone. And just looking for a little, I guess, help on the increasing of rents. That's all. Thank you so very much. Looking forward to the council's response to my statements. Thank you.
Michelle, you want to?
Yes. So the owner occupancy is there because it's an accessory dwelling unit. It's accessory. If we took away the owner occupancy, we would have a 2-family district. But that's also why we have the affordable housing incentive. If you're an LLC, we would hope that you would put in deed restricted affordable housing if you're going to do multiple ones throughout the city. And again, this is actually, and many municipalities have their ADUs as owner occupied, probably more do than don't. And it is, I believe, the way that we are going to at least start. It's part of the whole idea of the gentle density.
Do I don't know.
So are you happy with the answer about the ADUs?
I'm happy with her answer. I'd like to elaborate and have a debate, but I mean.
And that's why tonight's to get feedback, so in case we want to change anything because of your questions and concerns and other people's.
Well,
So-
if you're an owner occupied and you
Well,
do an
you-
ADU, yeah.
Your time's, okay.
Yeah, sure,
So that
sure,
one-
sure. No
As
worries.
far as the rent control, Mr. Goodman made no changes, so that's not true. You're right, the majority of the council decided to keep it at 3.5%, not go CPI. And to this day, not one landlord has applied for a hardship because of the price of fuel, the price of this, price of anything, which you can do. So you can tomorrow go in and apply for a hardship, and the rent control committee will listen to the case and vote on it, and I guess with this economy, probably say yes. But nobody has applied for one yet, so that's where we stand. Thank you.
Okay.
How you doing, George Stevens? Y'all spoke to you before about the firehouse. I was just back to speak about this guy, not even so much about him, about getting the local guys jobs, even if they don't hire us at the union. We have an apprenticeship class, just to make sure that if this guy got the contract, that he can hire guys, people from Asbury, not just guys, women too. And I just want to put that in your head. I ain't gonna take up too much time, but just keep an eye on them, because we will. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Stevens. And just besides the firehouse, just so you know, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, like every project in the city, be it 22 units on 7th Avenue, 210 units on 4th Avenue, they're required to have a job incentive program for Asbury Park residents where they have to hire so many apprentices, they have to hire so many subcontractors, they have to give scholarships, they have to do that. So if you need more information on that for anybody, we'll gladly get that to you.
No, I knew about it, but I know this guy, I heard him speak, and everything wasn't truthful with this, just this guy. I'm not,
Okay, but I didn't know if you knew about the other ones.
Yes, thank you. I knew about, this.
And that, because there's going to be a project like being built, like hopefully one after another.
Yeah, I know the convention hall is supposed to be
a more long-term, like a job opportunity than a one building. So again, and people can help us spread the word when we have those opening houses, because the first one wasn't that great, where we had 4 scholarships and we gave all 4 scholarships to one young man, just because nobody else showed up.
Yes.
So if you could help us spread the
we
word on that.
appreciate what you're doing for the city.
Okay, and again, thank you, and I understand your concern. Thank you.
Sylvia, Executive Director for the Chamber of Commerce. First, thank you very much for your kind words and for your support always for the events that we do. This was our 10th annual Asbury Park Restaurant Tour, and it went really, really well, even though it poured all night long and I watched the rain begging it to go away. But it was a beautiful day. We attracted about 1,300 guests who sampled cuisine from 26 of our eateries around the entire town. We design our events so that they do a number of things. Certainly show off our town, but our entire town. We bring buses in so that people will go to all of the locations, downtown, Boardwalk, North and West Side. I had one of my businesses say that she estimated 70% of the people who came in there were new and had never been to her restaurant before, and she was really happy about that. But then I also had a couple that lives on Cookman who did the tour, and they said they went to 4 different restaurants that they didn't even know we had here. So it was really, it supports local and also brings in consumers further away. We had made this last year. We designed it to also be a support system for some nonprofits, and we were able to raise, I don't have the final numbers yet, but there's a few $1,000s that we're going to be able to donate to the pantry at Mercy Center, they're currently serving, I think, 6,000 meals a month to Asbury Park residents, and we'll also be donating a smaller portion, but a portion to World Central Kitchen Chefs for Ukraine. And I just wanted to thank you guys. And again, as always, DPW they're so fantastic to us, and the police department and the fire department, whom I always consult with first to make sure that we're executing our events in the safest and best way for a great outcome for everybody, as well as the residents, that we're not interfering or bothering anybody that doesn't want to be bothered with extra people coming in. But thank you guys for everything. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, and as Amy thanked you before, we thank you again. And Sunday morning, the weather was miserable until around 11 o'clock when you were setting up, and you brought the sun to us, so thank you very, very much.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and council people. My name's Mark Babatek, and with my fiancée Lisa over here, we've lived on the west side for about a year and a half now at 1012 Monroe Avenue, a couple blocks away, but on the same block of did I say 1012? We're at 1002 Monroe. I was confusing that with 1012 Asbury. And we're big supporters of that project. It's great to see investment on the west side, but we're concerned about parking in the neighborhood, and we hope that you'll be very careful to hold the developer to a good plan to keep the parking from having a couple hundred new residents look for parking in the neighborhood. So we'll just be hoping that you'll do a great job with that, and we're thrilled to see investment on the west side. My main comment tonight is about the ADU proposal. We think it's a great idea. My whole career, I've worked with seniors and their families, and the idea of being able to have a couple generations at one place, et cetera, is wonderful. I have a couple technical comments and a question for Michelle. Technical comment, the proposal talks about individual owners and about businesses, corporations, and LLCs, et cetera, but it's silent about trusts, and I recommend that you make a technical amendment to say that either a trustee or a beneficiary of the trust must be a resident of the property, must have it as a principal residence. I also think I don't remember the exact place, but there's something number 10 in the proposal that appears to say that if you have a violation, you're kind of permanently banned from ever getting a dwelling permit again, and I hope you'll kind of clean up that language. And finally, my question for Michelle, I don't understand why the proposal bans balconies or other outdoor spaces on the second floor of ADUs, and it would seem like if the ADUs are inward facing into the lot, that it really wouldn't be a problem with the neighbors. So I just wondered what was your thinking with that?
You ready? Thank you very much. I will look into the trustee item, and I will find the part about the violation, because the idea is if you have an open violation on the property. But again, about the balconies, the idea is because a lot of these are going to be very close to the neighboring property lines. Right now, a garage is permitted to be 3 feet from the rear, 5 from the side. It was thought that if there was a balcony attached, it would intrude on the neighbor's privacy.
But if the balcony faces away from the neighbors and into the yard, it would seem like that could be a decent design that wouldn't impinge on anyone. So I hate to see just a complete ban on them.
Well, but you would still, from the rear, be 3 feet away. The only way it would work is if it was on the corner of the property. But we had discussions about that, and one of the things that it doesn't permit you not to have outdoor recreation space, just that would have to happen on the ground, like a patio. But there was a concern when we were drafting this of the privacy for the neighbors. Because also if you have a second floor balcony, then you can look down onto your neighbor's property if so desired. Not saying that everyone would do that. But your comment is going to be taken into consideration by the municipal council.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Michelle's saying. So this is draft form, right? So this is in one of our many efforts to try to keep Asbury in some way affordable, right? So we sort of, greatly reduced short-term rentals. We implemented rent control. We implemented a 20% set aside for affordable housing. We're going to implement ADUs, we're one of the few municipalities in the entire state that's even considering it, right? A lot of them don't have ADUs. So this is for us, so, you know, I don't love the LLC idea, but this is for us to take, you know, these ideas, go back to the drawing board, and then come up with a resolution. You know, again, the spirit being to provide a little bit more affordability in Asbury Park.
It's a great
Is that a
thing,
fair
and
statement?
I support it completely. I just was suggesting a couple.
No,
things.
appreciate the comments. So that, yeah, we welcome the comments, and that's why we're asking for this input prior to voting on it, to weed out the ideas that we like and the ideas we don't like, and then put together a final draft.
And any follow-up by anybody, please, you can email Michelle, you can email any council member and say, hey, how about this, how about that? Because again, like Amy said, this is like, you know, we're cooking the cake, so the first time the cake is right. So any follow-up questions, concerns, please get to us. I don't think we're going to be voting on this at the next meeting.
No.
It'd be too quick, so we want public input so we do this right the first time.
By the way, my comment about a trust isn't to get around anything, it's just to recognize that some
Right.
people have living trusts that own properties,
Yeah.
and the current
It's-
language didn't recognize that.
It's
And
a
your
great point.
And your concern about Monroe and the Asbury Avenue project, totally agree with you, and we're having those discussions before this project moves forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I also want to say, I should have put my email up on the screen, but you can find my email on the city website.
Oh, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Boulos. I live at 1705 4th Avenue. Great presentation, Michelle. I think it would be a great thing for Asbury Park. My comments in general are, I do feel that the owner-occupied piece should be removed. I feel it would limit the amount of residents and owners who would actually move forward and either convert the space or build the space. I also think that the incentive being offered for affordable housing, deed restricted, is a nice incentive, but you know, I do think it should be noted that it could potentially have a negative impact on property values in the town. And I know the town has come a long way over the years, and I just want that to be noted. Otherwise, I think it's a absolutely great plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is David Wilson. I am the president of Open Heaven Music Fest, the event for August 26th. I simply just wanted to introduce myself to the community. I currently live in Toms River, but I have staff members and co-laborers that live here in Asbury Park. I am a Jersey boy. I actually was born in Cuba, came over to America. And the impetus, really, I wanted to just really drive home the why behind why I even started doing this, is that I work for the Navy, been all over the world, met many cultures, 27 countries, and coming home and seeing the division within churches, division within communities, I thought music would be that one thing that would bring people together. And so I wanted to do it in a family-friendly environment and bring people together. So we started that in 2018. We've been growing since then, and I'm very excited about bringing that to Asbury Park. I'm very thankful for the success that we've had over the last several years. Last year we were in Springwood Park. I'm very thankful for Councilmember Clayton that was there to greet and open us up there, and I'm hoping that someone from the staff will be able to actually come out on the 26th as well. But it's an invite for the whole entire community for us to come together. We'll have children's activities. We'll have great live bands. We'll have food trucks and all that stuff. The benefits is free entry. We do free giveaways through our partners. We bring giveaways last year we gave out bicycles and things like that. We give out back to school supplies. We have a collaboration with an organization called Meet the Need, and we get school supplies to them. And then some of our events, designated events, we have free food, but not this one because we have the food trucks there. But the whole idea is to inspire and to provide hope for the community. And so I'm very thankful to be a part of this community. On any given weekend, you'll find me in Asbury Park. I love this city. I go to Toast, I go to the surrounding restaurants. I have a thing that I do called Dining with David, and I'm often in the restaurants here, blogging the restaurants in this area. So very glad to be in the community and be part of it and continue. I hope that we can have continued long relationship and working together and co-laboring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and
Open Heaven Music Fest is on August 26th, Saturday.
and your event was very well received at the Special Events Committee, and I'm sure it's going to pass tonight, and we wish you the best, and if there's anything we can do to help to make it a greater day, let us know. But again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Mulholland. I reside and own 705 First Avenue here in the city. And when I bought the house in 1988, the zoning was R2, and it is a two-family. Now it is a non-conforming two-family. However, I'm kind of using it as a mother-daughter with my adult daughter. I'm asking regarding the ADUs that perhaps reconsider the internal ADU, because that's really how I'm using my two-family house. However, because the zoning was changed in 2017, in order to make some of the changes to the house to make it more livable for myself, I would have to seek a variance because the zoning changed after I bought the house, and now that I have a little more means to make the changes to the house, I'm restricted by having to do a variance, just kind of simple things to make it more livable. And we could do an ADU, but we already have the separate in the two-family, and it is a much smaller subunit. So if you considered doing an internal ADU and my house would qualify for that, then I could actually give up my two-family zoning, maintain my second unit as an ADU, and then proceed to do some of the modifications, which are internal to the structure actually, that I would like to make to the house without having to go for a variance. And also my question is on the incentives for lower income housing, I think it should be clarity on what the affordable housing list is. Is that the housing authority, city housing? So what that list means, because I know a lot of people that could qualify, but I don't know what list they would be on, who I might be interested in renting if I ever got to that point. And then if there are any deviations from the ADU plan, would that be something that could be accommodated through the variance process? So if somebody wanted to do a balcony but otherwise didn't qualify on the kind of the general ADU pattern. But I do want to definitely commend this. I love the idea of an ADU, and I just hope you'll consider the internal as you get out the get-go, because that could solve a lot of my problems. Thank you.
So one of the things that we had put in that a non-conforming use could not have an ADU. But I have to say that I believe we're open to a non-conforming two-family being able to have an ADU. And I say the but, part of it again about the gentle density. Once you start to go higher and you need to comply with the parking, then we've come into issues of not being able to comply with the current zoning and why we put those measures in. Many years ago, we didn't have an impervious coverage requirement. Now with our new stormwater regs and just general good practices, we have an impervious coverage requirement. And if you need to park a lot of cars on your property, you may run afoul of that. But we also, at this point, decided to just do ADUs in the separate structure is because much of the housing stock that we have in Asbury Park, what is the guidance with what is an ADU, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to the carving out of space in people's existing homes. You may be the exception. And I also would like for you also to come to my office, or we can do a call about what you have now and what it means for your property and for an expansion. And then the other part about doing the ADU within the house, one of the things we would definitely do that may not benefit everyone is it would be limited in size. Because the idea is it's supposed to, again, be gentle density and not have a big impact on the neighborhood, because if we permitted the ADUs internally, it's just a two-family district now, and it's not a one-family district. So it's also, again, up to the municipal council. This was the route we were going because we were looking for the gentle density and to start off slow. I hope I answered your questions. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Eric Gallipo, 908 Fifth Avenue. Good evening, council members. Good evening, Michelle. First of all, thank you for bringing this forward. I think this is a really important initiative for the town, and I'm so glad to hear so many people speaking in support of it. There are a few items I would like to sort of reiterate about. Design of these buildings should be able to accept a more contemporary expression that allows things like flat roofs and external balconies and staircases to save on internal space that actually has to be built. And so I echo this gentleman's conversation about that. And I also think that there should be some way of thinking about how there might be incentives for existing green building standards, like flat roofs, which do not conform to what these pictures shown up here are all peaked roofs. Flat roofs maximize the area for solar, and they also may allow for low slopes that support green roofs. More contemporary materials are prefabricated and cheaper and would lower the cost of developing the ADU for the owner. So those are a couple of things. The affordability grant, I would love to downsize from my 4-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom house. And so if the deed restriction was replaced on any unit on the site, that would allow the flexibility for the owner to move into the new unit and do the existing unit as an affordable unit, potentially providing a greater number of bedrooms in general, which is also something that we look for in our affordable housing profile. Then there's the issue of exceptions to the rules. Currently, there is no administrative pathway in the ordinance to support people who have special exceptions to get that special permit without going to the zoning board for a variance, which can be an expensive and extremely lengthy and very litigious process. My house is a legal 2-family house in the business zone. The property next to me is 1201 Memorial, subject to a recent redevelopment area plan allowing 120 units. It's fabulous. I love it. Thank you so much. I am also in support of the ADUs, which would be allowed on every property around me except mine. And therefore, I feel that especially for 1 and 2 families in the business zone, you should consider allowing the creation of an ADU if it creates a 3rd unit, or a 4th, or a 5th. Yeah, and so as long as you're able to meet the parking and coverage requirements, existing 1 and 2 family homes in the business zone should be able to create ADUs that exceed the 2-unit maximum for the site. Thank you. Those are, I think, most of my comments. Yeah, administrative pathway. I don't want to get a variance.
All right, so let's start off with the flat roof. My images all have peak roofs because most of those were more East Coast related. This is law. ADUs are law in Oregon, and a lot of those examples were flat roofs, but didn't look like our housing. So of course we're open to flat roofs. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about with the deed restriction on the housing, if someone had a 2-family home I think this is a whole separate discussion of using affordable housing funds to create affordable housing in 2-family homes. I think that's separate from ADUs. But
my suggestion was not that. Like if a person in a single-family home creates an ADU in the back, they should have the option to move into the ADU and make their existing unit the affordable unit. It could potentially be a larger unit with more bedrooms, which is a portion of the housing profile we also need to provide for families with needs in affordable housing. It's not that we want to create more units. It's the same number of units, just that the owner would be able to occupy either unit.
that's something for us to think about.
That would deal with the square footage, right? Because we're saying ADUs have to be a certain square footage.
Right.
So if you switch it, that, okay, it's just something we have to think about, Eric. that's
Yes,
all.
because Eric, I think you might.
It's just a special exception.
You're one of
Yeah.
and then going to the part about variances and not variances. I mean, legally, the pathway to an exception in a zoning ordinance is a variance. So that would be, and the way this is written, and that would be the case, that if you have
Then my suggestion would be to include 1 and 2 families in the business zone with a special permit.
Well, we're going to, and it's something that the
I don't know what
council.
the special permit is.
It's an administrative
We'll add it to the
pathway.
list to
You-
discuss.
you-
And we'll discuss.
Yes, you go to the zoning office.
We'll add
they
it to the
check-
list to discuss, yep.
Exactly.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, council. This is great.
Hi, good evening. Kitty Minervini, 1012 Fifth Avenue. I am definitely for, thank you, Amy, for telling me about this meeting at the last one. I'm for ADUs. I do not agree with my neighbor about not being owner occupied. I am for owner occupation of the unit of the property, only because I think it's respectful to the people who live around it. I live next door to a multifamily home, and with absentee landlords, it's just not taken care of like everyone else's property in the surrounding area. So I just want to say, I'm for this. I agree with a lot of Eric's comments about design, roof design, sustainable materials, and kind of opening that up a little bit more. So those are my 2 comments. My question is, if you can remind me what lot coverage is for properties. I mean, I hope we can do it. I'm not sure we can, but I'm just curious. I knew there was a number. I heard it was changing. I'm not sure what that is. And my second question is why, I'm out of curiosity, I'm just curious why parking is not required for affordable housing. Even the developer of 1201, when we had a conversation after the last meeting, he even said that that was unlike many other municipalities. And so we're just assuming that people in affordable housing don't have cars, but they probably most likely have at least one, maybe 2 or 3. So as we do more development, whether it's ADUs or developer developments that are larger, we are going to have, issues with parking. So I'm just curious why that is. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so coverage requirements. Building coverage is 30% of the lot. Impervious is 60%. And to the idea of
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
30%, this is R1 district. It's 30% building coverage and 60% impervious coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Now I just blanked out on your second question. I'm sorry.
It's the affordable, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is incentives. So I'm sure it's no surprise developers don't want to build units that they can't get the maximum amount of money on. So these are sort of incentives to allow, and if people have other idea for other incentives, we're always up for incentives. It's very difficult to get affordable housing, particularly in Asbury Park, but these are incentives to get you to do it, really. It's us saying, we need this, and here's the break we're going to give you to do it.
Hi, my name is Carrie Blinds. I live at 701 First Avenue. Actually,
What was your name?
Kathy is my neighbor. Sorry, 703 First
Ask her
Avenue.
again. Ma'am, can I have your name and address? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Carrie Blinds, and I'm at 703
Thank you.
First Avenue. And Kathy's my neighbor at 705, and Rich is my partner who I live there with. So it's a non-conforming, much like Kathy's, but 3 units. We live on the first floor and then rent out the other 2 units. So I guess my question was also about, you answered this in part, but about multifamily buildings not being able to build ADUs. To me, it seems like this kind of incentivizes people in our situation to turn our 3-family into a single-family house in order to build an ADU, which would result in 2 units instead of 3 units that we currently have. So I think that could maybe backfire in some situations. And I'm wondering if there is the potential for
potential for us to, if we wanted to build an ADU, to get a variance around the prohibition against multifamily. Does that make sense?
So because this is in the zoning ordinance, you could definitely get a variance or seek a variance for any portion in the zoning ordinance. I did, I believe you emailed me and I did look at, again, it has to, multifamilies in order to accommodate the parking that's required for each unit may go over the impervious coverage requirement. Not everyone if you have an exceptionally large lot, but that's the exception. So that's why we originally were limiting it to one families, but after a little bit more analysis and looking at some of the aerial maps, I am open to discussing with council about two families. But again, if we were trying to go slow and go gentle, because there's also, as you know, there's quite a few multifamily properties in the city that are not owner occupied. It's kind of the exception for multifamilies to be owner occupied.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Pam Lamberton, Sunset Avenue. We all know back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, many of our big old beautiful Victorian homes were subdivided into many, many little apartments. Front porches were turned into apartments and basements were turned into apartments. So in the early 2000s, I happened to have the privilege of sitting on the zoning board. Living spaces being added to homes and properties. If there's a lot and somebody wanted to add something else, in the early 2000s, that was, the pendulum was swinging the other way. And I personally, having sat on that zoning board, have had a 180-degree change of heart. I see the value of the ADUs. I support this entirely. Enough said. It's great. I'm trying to understand how far along in the process the ordinances are. There's a couple of things that I would suggest that you look at. Maybe technical issues. There are two ordinances that we're talking about, and they both have their own definition of ADUs. And one glaring difference that I noticed is that one of the ordinance refers to attached or detached, and the other ordinance says only detached. So I don't know why you need two definitions, and they're different. So I would suggest combining them. I also wonder about sewer connections, because a lot of these new ADUs will require kitchen and bath facilities, so we're going to have sewer connections. We just need to remember that the sewer plant has a capacity that we have to keep in mind. But I wholeheartedly support the idea of ADUs, and congratulations to Asbury Park for being on the forefront. I also have a question in 44 seconds about the Historic District Committee that was formed. Who created it? I'm going to talk fast. Who was appointed to it? Do they have credentials? What is the mission of that committee? When is the delivery date? And what is the delivery? And is there a deadline for that delivery from that committee? Thank you.
Anybody want to answer that question? Because I don't know the answer. That the historic,
I don't know the answer either. I came on after you left.
right? So
I don't know, I don't know who started it.
who's on it now?
Me
And
me.
and
Angela and me.
Yeah, and that's it. I think what's Pam's asking, like.
Maybe the answer, Pam, is there's just a working group of council members and community members that have been meeting to discuss the historic district ordinance that Michelle has been drafting for quite a while. I believe the committee is finalizing their comments, which the entire council will discuss in executive, and then we'll probably have a similar meeting like we're having tonight regarding the historic ordinance.
Rita Moreno, 8th Avenue. I've been in my house 50 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. Across the street from me was a one-family mansion. And when you reduce the rules, this is what happens. It's now a 10-family in an R1 zone. So who's going to control all this stuff? You can't even control it. It's out of your hands. People convert basements, attics into apartments that you don't even know about. And if you started to research that, you would be very, very surprised at what's going on in Asbury Park. And now, I have a garage. I could build over it. But would I want people looking at me in my house? I don't think so. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned for that. I don't think it's, I think it's okay if it's in a certain area, but not in the R1 zone. What does that do to the R1 zone? You're making exceptions to every rule. How about doing historical first? Because we are in a historical zone. And I think that you should be looking at that. You can't even get bushes cut down next door to me. You have a volunteer organization working on it. How did they have the right to cut down bushes? How about correcting those things first before you look at it at ARP magazine? I didn't think you were that old to be looking at ARP magazine. But that's also a very political magazine, and they would like to break up one-family neighborhoods. You know that. They tried it in Westchester, New York, and it didn't work. So, I mean, I'm not against it, but you gotta be extremely careful. And you don't have the people working here that can handle all this, including the city manager. Where is the Historical Society? 2 people? How about the people that live in the historical district? How about asking them? No, we have to come out and tell you. It's not fair. It's just not fair. You don't get anything done. And this is going to be the topping on the cake. Affordable? Where is there affordable housing anywhere? Nowhere. That's just a word that people use. Rents are $2,000, and you know that, for a 1-bedroom. So what do you expect? You expect people to believe all this?
Okay, Rita, your time's up.
Oh, no. You know what? You gave the guy last week, 2 weeks ago, 8 minutes. I just want you to know.
Who?
1606 Sewell Avenue. Talking about surfing. Remember?
Okay,
I want you to know.
Rita, if you want to, give me one more sentence, go ahead.
No.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate it, and I'm going to ask, and I'm doing this sincerely.
What?
I'm doing this sincerely. So I'm asking the city manager and zoning and planning. I'm getting tired of hearing about Rita's bushes. And I've been hearing about it for like 5 years. And why can't we solve bushes that may be legal, may be illegal, and why is it going to the ESTC instead of planning and zoning? So can we get an update on that, since Rita, the owner, can't get an update?
So Mayor, I believe that the zoning officer has already ruled on this, but I will follow up with Michelle tomorrow and reiterate what the zoning already told Rita.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary McAllister, 1130 Darlene Avenue, Wanamassa, formerly of 409 Second in Asbury. And I'm so sorry I didn't get in line before Rita went, because she really needs to close out the meeting, but as we all know. As a real estate agent in town and the surrounding areas, mostly in town for the last 19, 20 years, I applaud you for looking at this. I represent buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords, so I see all sides. I've seen many cycles And this cycle happens to be very difficult for tenants and buyers, right? As we all know. I think that you're trying to get a balance, which I applaud. I also, as Pam had said, I've seen when all the big houses were carved into multifamilies, and then everybody wanted to bring them back out of that. I get that. Again, a cycle. So again, I'm glad that you're doing this. I do appreciate that you're looking to conform to the existing coverage requirements. I think that will keep a lot of people happy and on the side of having this. I think that should not change. As far as balconies, I'll take my realtor hat off for a second and put on a homeowner hat. I agree with no balconies. No matter if it's in the front or the sides, I do feel it's intrusive. Personally, I even feel a deck is intrusive as opposed to a patio, right? You can then see your neighbors. We all want a little piece of our privacy. One thing I was thinking about is having the moderate, low, and very low income incentives. I think that's fantastic to put an incentive out there. I do think it should be for both homeowners and non-homeowners. I don't think that we should necessarily villainize LLCs or investors because they are producing housing. We are a capitalist society at the end of the day. I do understand we need to strike a balance, which is what this is about and many of our other laws are about. I do just think that perhaps giving that to both sides would be a good idea or something to at least think about. Let's see. I was just curious, and it seems that there's not a lot of opposition. If opposition did come up, I would wonder, was there a search or anything conducted that would show how many potential properties could even conform to this? Probably not a lot, probably not as many as people may think if you have to conform to the existing zoning rules. So just a thought. I mean, not necessary now because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of opposition for it, but I think that the number of people who would be even doing this is a lot less than a lot of people would think. As far as CPI for rent.
Are you going to tell me about the guy I gave 6 extra minutes to?
No, but that was great. CPI for rent, I would think that might be something you might want to look at just simply because.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Okay. Darn, I should have got to that a little sooner.
Thank you.
I agree.
I want to say the incentive for making, the incentive for a deed restricted affordable unit is for also an LLC. It says that part of the incentive is it doesn't have to be owner occupied.
Rick Dilley, Bangs Avenue. I grew up in suburban America in North Jersey. We recently moved to Asbury Park. I applaud Asbury Park in trying to introduce this legislation for the ADUs. One of the areas that was not really touched on, was just mentioned by one person, is multi-generational families. And I think it's so important. We grew up on the same street, and my children were raised on a street where their grandparents were. They always had another house to go to, another door to knock on, and another person to talk to. So I think there's great value in this, although I am in favor of your thrust towards affordable housing. There's a separate category, this intergenerational housing. Again, the property we live in is a non-conforming R1, and I'm hoping you look at your proposed legislation and allow them that to be able to have an ADU. We'd like to move into the ADU, and one of our sons lives in the main house. So this would be something that I think has value and unnecessarily restricted in the proposal right now. I don't know what you gain by that.
Well, I think I'm confused by your question, because if you have, if you don't meet the minimum lot size, and you can still do an ADU. If you have a garage on your property and you have other nonconformities you're not touching, you can do an ADU in that garage structure.
That's not our case. This would be a new structure, a new ADU, and it would be something that we would want to build on the property that my son's house exists on.
Well, I was going to say, you can, again, if you have.
I think he's looking for the incentives that we're providing for affordable for family, for intergenerational, if I'm understanding your question.
That would be wonderful, but that's actually not my thrust.
Oh, that is-
But yeah, that would be
okay.
great. Anytime you want to
but-
give money, that's good.
But in the whole thing, I think you may be a case, again, for a variance if you feel, because it sounds like maybe if you do that, you're going to exceed lot coverage, and you're going to exceed building.
No, I
We
think,
have
I
a-
think, I think what you're saying is.
Right now, we have like six,
No,
seven.
I think what you're saying is you would like to live in the ADU and occupy the ADU and have your son occupy the main house.
That's permitted.
That's permitted. That's why I wanted to make
But
clear.
the main structure is two legal apartments.
Oh, that's the issue. So it's the two
There's the
house.
problem.
Okay, that's the issue. It's a two-family.
It's not conforming R1.
So he can't have the ADU
We don't
on the
allow
two-family.
two-family houses
Yeah.
to do
All
an
right,
ADU.
that's something we can
Well,
discuss.
that's something we said we'd
Yeah.
relook at, but he may be a completely special case. So
Yeah, we can talk about
We need
that.
to talk offline, because I think
I'll
we're a very
talk to you
special
offline.
case.
All right.
Anybody else like to be heard? If not, motion to close.
Move to close. Second. All in favor? Aye. Public participation portion is now closed.
Thank you for all your input, and there will be no vote on this at the next meeting until we get more feedback. But this was a good start, so again, thank you all, please. It's michelle.alonzo@cityofasburypark.com. Everybody's email address is their first name dot last name at cityofasburypark.com. So please follow up with questions, suggestions, input, because we want to get this as close to where the majority like it and don't dislike it. So again, thank you all.
Great job, Michelle. Thanks, Michelle. Just leave right there. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We're now on to the minutes. I have the executive meeting minutes and regular meeting minutes of the April 12th meeting.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now into consent agenda resolutions. All matters listed on the consent agenda are presented collectively to City Council and will be considered for approval with one vote. These matters are considered to be routine in nature, and there will be no individual discussion of these items. If discussion is desired by one or more council members as to any particular item, then said item shall be removed from consent agenda and considered separately. On consent agenda, we have resolutions 2023-198 through 2023-205. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now on to individual resolutions. Resolution 2023-206, a resolution approving payment of bills.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
No.
Resolution 2023-207, a resolution authorizing the emergency repairs and maintenance as needed at the wastewater treatment plant.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-208, a resolution authorizing emergency purchase of 2 primary sludge pump impellers needed at the wastewater treatment plant.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-209, a resolution authorizing the purchase of outdoor bottle filling stations.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn has left the room. Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-210, a resolution authorizing a purchase of new parking enforcement vehicle and related equipment needed.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn has left the room. Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-211 has been removed from tonight's agenda, so we're now on to Resolution 2023-212, resolution awarding contract to commercial recreation specialists for the purchase of equipment for the water spray park with Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-213, a resolution awarding a contract for Sunset Lake Pond Management.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-214, a resolution authorizing a professional services contract with NJ American Water for a water main disconnect.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-215, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Controlled Growth for 2023 fertilizer and weed control program at various locations citywide.
Move it.
Second.
Question. And Donna, you and I discussed this the other day. I'm for this, but I'm still wondering why we're only doing half the parks. I mean,
So I spoke with Robert, and the parks that are identified here are the ones that we've been doing in the past. The other parks haven't needed it. If the parks do need it, we'll do it as well. And the other ones that are adjacent to the water bodies, Black Lagoon is handling. That was a previous resolution you just approved.
yeah. Locust Park doesn't need it? I mean, St. John's Island doesn't need it?
So Black Lagoon handles St. John's Island. So if there is an issue at Locust Park, we can certainly identify that. But these are the parks that they've done historically. This is what they've done for the past 10 years, Robert has said.
I don't believe that, but no big deal.
Okay.
But I just think if we're going to do the parks, we should do all the parks, not just 50% of the parks where 50% look good.
Well, it's a little bit
50%
more than 50%, but like I said, if
But
it's needed, we can certainly
70%
do
look
it.
good and 30% don't look good. I
Okay.
don't know. I just wish it was consistent throughout the city. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
No.
Resolution 2023-216, a resolution awarding contract to MRC Recreation for the purchase and installation of equipment for the exercise fitness area with Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-217, a resolution authorizing the extension for the transportation of liquid sewage sludge from AP wastewater treatment plant to PVSC.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-218, a resolution authorizing the City of Asbury Park to implement the competitive contracting process to procure vendors to operate a pedicab concession.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-219, a resolution approving change order number 2 for Memorial Drive Improvements Project.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-220, a resolution authorizing the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a fiscal year 2023 to 2026 agreement with Monmouth County for cooperative participation in the Home Investment Partnership Program pursuant to the Interlocal Services Act.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-221, a resolution adopting the Monmouth County Home Consortium Fiscal Year 2023 Annual Action Plan for Housing and Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-222, resolution appointing muralists to paint murals on the City of Asbury Park wastewater treatment plant for 2023.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-223, a resolution authorizing appointments to the Housing Authority. The first appointment would be Angeline Brown. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I would like to, can I vote on that?
Yeah, we're doing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. So Councilmember Bez Anderson.
No.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. Two votes. One.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I got her vote, and then I'm gonna do Charlotte and Nina.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Okay. Second appointments would be Charlotte McAllister and Nina Summerlin. Do I have a motion?
Okay.
Anybody want them
Second.
separated?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
You made a motion.
I made a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
And all three would be terms to expire April 30th, 2028. We're now on to ordinances. I have second readings, public hearing. First up is ordinance 2023-12, the 2022 transportation update ordinance. Donna, do we have someone to provide a summary?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lisa, which one, on the parking?
Yeah, 2022 transportation update.
We have James Bonanno here, the Director of Transportation, who will give us
Director
a
of
summary.
Transportation, James Bonanno, could you provide us with a brief summary?
This ordinance is a collection of recommendations from the Parking Committee. There are recommendations to add some street cleaning along avenues such as Prospect Avenue, Springwood Avenue, Sunset Drive, and Bond Street. There are recommendations to restrict trailers from parking on the street overnight. There's a new recommendation for a commercial vehicle permit to limit commercial vehicles to one per home and to have a small fee just to have it on the street. There's also a residential driveway clearance program that will be run by the city that will help manage people's requests to have painting on their driveway as far as no parking goes for yellow paint. And there's an inclusion of additional metered parking along Heck Street, 2nd Avenue, 6th Avenue, 7th Avenue, and 8th Avenue close to the waterfront.
Thank you, James. May I have a motion to open up the public hearing on 2023-12?
Move it.
Second.
Public hearing on ordinance 2023-12 is now open. Any member of the public would like to be heard, please use the microphone. Your comments may be regarding 2023-12 only.
Okay, Heck Street. Well, what's going to happen there again?
Heck Street between Sewell Avenue and 5th Avenue will be metered parking.
What about the 8th Avenue?
8th Avenue from Ocean Avenue to Park Avenue
Is what?
will be metered parking.
Meter parking?
Yes.
Okay. Whose idea was this?
These are recommendations from the Parking Committee.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hold on, we have another question.
Patricia Patton, Asbury Avenue. I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's applicable to this or not, but my question has to do with parking on front lawns on Asbury Avenue and not actually in parking space. People have turned their lawns into parking areas. Is that part of what?
I don't think we can discuss that right now since I think our discussion is limited to this ordinance, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so if you'd like to reach out to the zoning department, to Michelle Alonso, she can advise you on the parking on the lawns. And that was Michelle who gave the presentation earlier on the ADUs. Oh, okay. So if you look at our zoning
Motion-
office.
Okay, motion to close.
Yep, sorry.
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing on ordinance 2023-12 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-12.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
No.
Councilmember Chapman.
No.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes. Hold on a second, please.
Yeah.
Just because you weren't here at the beginning, and it's a quick answer to your question, but then you can follow up. If somebody parks on the front grass and it's on their property, it's a zoning board matter. If somebody parks on the front grass and they're in the city right away, it's a police matter. It's both are wrong, but police handles right away, zoning handles on the property itself. And if I'm wrong, I can be corrected. But I believe I'm right because we talked about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a short answer, so why make you wait 2 weeks?
Thank you. We're now on to ordinance 2023-14, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park, amending and supplementing subsection 4-27.4, entitled Application of Section 4-27, Film and Photography Permits of Chapter 4, General Licensing of the Code of the City of Asbury Park. And for the record, the adoption notice of this ordinance was published in error in the Coaster on April 20th, 2023. The public hearing on ordinance 2023-14 will take place tonight. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public hearing on ordinance 2023-14?
Move it.
Second.
Do you want me to give a quick summary?
yeah,
Lisa?
sorry.
Yeah, sure. So this is an ordinance that's been in effect for a while. The only change to this ordinance is adding number 7, which will require anyone doing filming or photography to notify businesses and residents within 200 feet of the location.
3 days prior to film.
Thank you, Mayor, 3 days prior.
Anybody like to be heard on this? Motion to close.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing on 2023-14 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-14.
Move it.
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-16, ordinance designating a portion of Emery Street as a one-way street within the City of Asbury Park.
Move it. Second.
Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. I don't think we need James up here. We're just
Okay,
making
thank you.
Emery. Thank you.
So, opening the public hearing, I have moving
Second. Move it.
Quinn.
Somebody's got a second.
Second. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're fading fast tonight.
We're public hearing on ordinance 2023-16 is now open. Not
Move
seeing
to
it.
close.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Any question?
I have a question. No.
Well,
It's-
wait till it's moved and
Okay.
seconded, then ask your question.
All right.
I think it's been moved and
It's moved and second. All in favor to close public hearing 2023-16?
Now there has to be a motion and a second to adopt.
Well, she has a question first.
Well, that
You
happens
gotta,
after the motion.
yeah,
and
it's
second.
gotta be on the floor for her to ask a question.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-16?
Move it.
Second.
There you go. Yvonne, question.
Okay, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth whereas, it says Emery Street between Lake.
I'm sorry, I can't.
We got a corrected one.
Okay. Withdraw my question.
Yeah, there was a typo in it, but you should have gotten a corrected one.
Yeah.
It's
all
here on
right.
the
Okay,
desk
thank you for
somewhere.
bringing it.
Motion to, go ahead and start the roll call.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
No.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-17, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park approving and adopting a redevelopment plan for property located at 1012 Asbury Avenue, Block 501, lots 1 and 2.
Beth will just briefly summarize, very briefly.
Hi folks, Beth McManus, planning consultant for the city. This redevelopment plan is for, as the title is 1012 Asbury Avenue, specifically block 501, lots 1 and 2. It's the frontage of Asbury Avenue between Comstock and Langford. And the redevelopment plan provides for multifamily housing on upper stories, a maximum of 115 units, first floor commercial, and then also first floor structured parking at the rear of the property. The parking provides, or the plan rather, requires one space per unit. And one of the good things about this redevelopment plan is that it requires a really substantial set aside for affordable housing, in that it's not less than 40% of the units on the property need to be reserved for low and moderate income households, and that restriction for affordable housing must meet all of the applicable affordable housing rules so that the city will not only be able to provide housing for households that meet those income requirements, but you actually get affordable housing credit for those units to help you meet your obligation.
Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
Thanks.
Motion to open the public hearing on 2023-17.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody like to be heard? Or talk, or ask a question?
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing on 2023-17 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-17.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now into ordinance 2023-18, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park amending and supplementing Chapter 8 entitled Taxi Cab, Liveries, Pedicabs, and Valet Parking to repeal Article 2 Pedicabs of the Code of the City of Asbury Park.
Move it.
Second.
This ordinance will repeal the ability for pedicabs to operate in the city of Asbury Park.
Thank you. Anybody, motion to open to the public? I move it.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone like to be heard?
Anybody like to be heard?
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing on 2023-18 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-18.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
No.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
No one has anything else. We can move on to adjournment. We'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting now adjourned.